What if everything you've read online about melting away belly fat in 7 days is completely wrong? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why that promise is a lie and what actually works instead. My name is Michael Diamond, and back in my first year of medical school, I had one goal that mattered more to me than almost anything else: getting rid of my stubborn belly fat. I took what I was learning in class, combined it with my own digging into the research, and used it to build the best physical shape I'd ever been in. That single project turned into something much bigger. A hobby became a genuine passion, and over the following 7 years, I kept refining what I knew, kept testing it on myself, and kept pushing my body through one transformation after another. Along the way, I became a doctor. I stepped on a bodybuilding stage and actually won. And for the past 3 years, I've taken everything I learned and used it to help hundreds of clients get the same results, sometimes even better than my own. Before we get into it, I want to ask one small favor. A lot of time, research, and editing goes into a video like this. So if you find it useful, tap that like button, and if this is the kind of content you want more of, subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into it. Here's the truth. Nobody wants to tell you. You cannot erase all your belly fat in a single week. It's simply not how the human body works. You're not going from 30% body fat down to 10% in 7 days, and no amount of willpower changes that. Fat loss also doesn't happen in one spot at a time. Your body burns fat everywhere at once, gradually, as part of one connected process. I know this firsthand because my most recent transformation, the one from 2021, took me almost 7 full months of disciplined dieting and training to drop more than 30 pounds. That's the real timeline, not a fantasy number designed to get clicks. I made this video because when you search for how to lose belly fat, most of what comes up is exaggerated or flat out false. My hope is that whoever actually needs this information finds it here, follows it, and comes out the other side healthier because of it. So before we even talk about the how, let's answer a more honest question first. How long will it actually take you? To make this practical, I'm going to use my own numbers as an example. At the start of my last diet, my body fat sat at 24%, measured on a scale. I've left a body fat calculator in the description so you can find your own starting point, along with the exact chart I'm about to walk you through in this video. Once you know your starting body fat percentage, the next question is simple. How long until you actually see your abs? Here's something that might surprise you. When you know exactly what you're doing, getting a lean, defined midsection takes far less time and effort than most people assume. The chart I use is built on a simple assumption, an average fat loss rate of 1 pound per week, and it gives a realistic estimate of how long that journey will take. If you push harder, the upper safe limit is around 2 pounds of fat loss per week, which roughly cuts that timeline in half. Using the chart is straightforward. First, find the column at the top that matches your current body fat percentage. Second, if you're a woman, trace that column down until you land on an orange cell, and if you're a man, follow it down to a yellow cell. Third, follow that row across to the left-hand side, and the number you land on tells you approximately how many weeks it will take to reveal your abs. Let's say you're a man sitting at 22% body fat right now. You'd locate the 22% column, follow it down to the yellow cell, and you'd discover it takes roughly 25 weeks to get that defined six-pack. In my own case, starting at 24%, the chart put me at roughly 29 to 30 weeks, based on losing 1 pound a week. But because I was actually losing closer to 2 pounds a week, my real timeline shrank to about 15 weeks, and that number turned out to be accurate. Now that we've settled how long this takes, it's time to talk about how to actually get there. Step 1, and the one you've probably heard 1,000 times because it's true, is diet. It matters more than anything else in this process. To lose fat, your body needs to be in a caloric deficit, meaning you either eat less than your body burns or you burn more than you eat through activity, ideally a combination of both. The most realistic way to track this, both your total calories and your macronutrients, is through an app called MyFitnessPal. Trying to do this manually is basically guesswork, and it usually ends up overcomplicated for no reason. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I use this app to build a diet and set macros that support both fat loss and muscle growth at the same time. Our primary goal here is weight loss, and I strongly recommend setting your target at 1 pound per week rather than 2. It's tempting to chase the faster number because you want results sooner. But in my experience working with clients, an aggressive deficit like that tends to backfire, both physically and mentally. 1 pound a week is sustainable. and sustainable is what actually gets you to the finish line. Sticking with 1 pound per week, when I ran my own numbers through MyFitnessPal, it landed me at 2,280 calories a day, which puts me solidly in a caloric deficit. But calories alone don't tell the whole story. The next step is figuring out your macros, and I'll walk you through the exact thinking so you can replicate it for yourself. My general rule for protein is to aim for slightly more than 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 175 pounds, you're targeting somewhere between 175 and 200 grams of protein, enough to maintain or even build muscle while you're losing fat. Next comes fat, and I typically set that at 20 to 25% of total daily calories. Bringing that down to 20%, for example, gave me 51 grams of fat, which felt right for my goals. From there, the remaining calories go to carbohydrates, and I adjusted mine down from 50 to 45% to make everything balance out correctly. Once you run those numbers, you'll land on a target. In my case, close to 200 grams of protein, 257 grams of carbohydrates, and 51 grams of fat. In my experience, and in watching hundreds of clients go through this same process, the people who stick closest to these numbers are the ones who see the most noticeable changes in their bodies. The goal was never perfection anyway. It's consistent progress. It really is that simple. And it's the exact method behind countless successful transformations, including my own. If you want me to break down my full diet plan in a future video, drop a comment and let me know. But here's the part that actually determines whether any of this works: consistency. Once your diet is set, you need to follow it for the entire length of time your chart predicted without wavering. The amount of fat you ultimately lose comes down to 3 things: how long you stay in that deficit, how consistent you are day to day, and how disciplined you remain when motivation dips. That's step 1 fully covered. Step 2 is resistance training, and it's just as critical, arguably more so if your goal is a great-looking body rather than just a smaller number on the scale. Diet alone can strip away fat, but without lifting weights, building real muscle is nearly impossible. Weight training is what shapes your body, not just shrinks it. Remember, the goal was never simply to lose weight. It's to lose as much fat as possible while keeping or even building as much muscle as you can at the same time. Designing the right training plan means factoring in your experience level, how many days a week you can realistically train, and how to maximize muscle growth within those constraints. If you're just starting out, training 3 to 4 times a week using a full body split tends to work best. That full body approach gives beginners enough stimulation to trigger muscle growth while still leaving plenty of time to recover between sessions. But if you've already got some experience under your belt, you might get better results from a 5 or 6 day push-pull leg split instead. Across both approaches, though, one thing stays true in my experience: compound exercises give you the biggest return on your effort. Movements like the bench press, deadlift, squat, and overhead press should form the backbone of any serious training plan. When you're performing these lifts, there are a few things I want you to prioritize above everything else. First is form and technique. The goal is always to execute each movement in a way that avoids injury while still getting the maximum benefit from it. Choose the heaviest weight that still allows you to complete your target reps without breaking form, because sacrificing technique for extra weight almost always backfires eventually. Second is rest between sets. For heavy compound lifts, like your bench, squat, deadlift, and overhead press, I typically rest 2 to 3 minutes to let my body fully recover before the next set. For accessory exercises, 1 minute is usually enough, and for ab work specifically, around 20 seconds does the job. Third, and this one gets overlooked constantly, track your weights. Progressive overload, meaning gradually increasing the weight, the number of reps, or your training frequency over time, is what forces your body to keep adapting and growing stronger. Without it, progress stalls no matter how hard you're working in the gym. That covers strength training, so let's move into step 3, cardio. Cardio is a powerful tool for fat loss, and without getting lost in the endless debate over high-intensity versus low-intensity training, the core principle is simple: burn more calories than you take in. My honest advice, the thing that works for almost everyone, is to just start walking. I recommend beginning around 8,000 steps a day. The physical and mental benefits of something this simple are genuinely life-changing. After a week or two, once your body adjusts, gradually increase your daily steps, working your way up toward 13,000, adding roughly 1,000 steps at a time as you go. Personally, during competition prep, I've pushed as high as 20,000 steps in a single day. As you continue seeing progress in your belly fat loss, you have two dials you can adjust to control the pace, either lowering your calorie intake further or increasing how much you burn through walking. Both work, and which one you lean on depends on what feels sustainable for your lifestyle. That brings us to step 4, and this next piece is one that almost nobody talks about, even though in my own experience it may be one of the biggest factors in whether this entire process actually succeeds. That overlooked factor is recovery, specifically sleep. We've covered the pieces most people expect: diet, training, and cardio. But sleep is the piece that quietly determines whether all that other effort actually pays off. So how much sleep does your body really need to build muscle and lose fat effectively? The National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours a night for a young adult or adult focused on general health and well-being. Personally, I recommend aiming for 7 to 8 hours, which gives your body enough time to physically recover and your brain enough time to function at its best. To be fair, you can still see results on less sleep than that, but if your goal is true optimization, 8 hours should be the target you're working toward. That brings us to the 5th and final step: supplementation. This plays a smaller role in body recomposition compared to everything else we've covered, but for beginners, and without any bias, I'll walk through a few options that are well supported by research on examine.com. The first is whey protein, a high-quality, easily absorbed source that makes it much easier to hit your daily protein targets. Its benefits tie directly back to the broader benefits of higher protein intake in general, supporting muscle growth alongside resistance training, protecting muscle mass during a calorie deficit, and even modestly limiting fat gain during periods of higher calorie intake. My personal go-to options are the peanut butter flavors from Oxyway and Isoprep from EHP Labs, both linked in the description, and using the code DIAMONDS10 directly supports this channel. The second supplement worth mentioning is creatine, which is well researched for its ability to improve strength and power output during resistance training. Paired with consistent weight training, creatine can also lead to a modest increase in lean muscle mass over time. The third is pre-workout, a category that's extremely popular and backed by solid research. A good pre-workout can boost training volume, improve muscular endurance, increase blood flow to your muscles, and sharpen your focus during a session. My personal favorite is Pride from EHP Labs, by far the best I've used. If you decide to try any of their products, using my code DIAMONDS10 supports this channel directly, and I can genuinely say their formulas are excellent. That's the full picture: the diet, the training, the cardio, the recovery, and the supplementation that actually works, backed by both medical training and real results. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me through the whole video, and here's how you can be part of something too. I'm giving away 3 $100 gift cards, your choice of EHP Labs, Gymshark, or Alphalete. To enter, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment answering any of the questions I asked earlier. Winners will be chosen using a random generator, so everyone has a fair shot. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next one.